Do you really?
For the next,
Oh, for the next day.
for the, well, like, tonight out tomorrow.
Okay. I actually yesterday morning flipped the page and looked up the words in my dictionary. It didn't make any sense at all. But I thought about it and was trying to find out the meaning. And then I forgot to say that.
After all that,
I was all prepared and then I forgot.
are you using the book that we have by?
if I just go like that.
Good evening, all. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to get started here in just a moment. I'm Rabbi Bonnie Kopel. Very delighted to welcome all of you here to Temple Chai this evening, and especially delighted to have Alan Naplin as our guest chazan, and my incredibly talented and handsome husband, Ron, on percussion. So we are going to begin singing together, Hine Matov. It is so wonderful to be together. Just remember, we lost this for a long time. Let's not take it for granted. It is a joy to welcome the Schleifman family, who are celebrating their children's Benot Mitzvah this Shabbos, to come forward and light the Shabbat candles for us. beautiful. We'll continue singing together Shalom Aleichem as we welcome the angels who join us for Shabbat. You'll find the Siddur in the seat in front of you. We're going to continue on page 1, singing together Yedid Nefesh. Turning now to page 2, the Psalm for Sunday. I'm thinking back to this past Sunday. It was the last day of religious school. And if you had the joy and the blessing of being here, this campus was alive with joy and energy of all of our students enjoying water slides and games and a final assembly, and now they're on their summer break, but what a blessing it was to be here on Sunday with our community. And I hope that as you turn now to Psalm 95, the Psalm for Sunday, that there is something that you experienced on Sunday that feels like a joyous blessing in your life.
Is me
on page 5. Thinking back to Tuesday, if you look 4 lines up from the bottom to the asterisk, or Zarua Latzadik. And in the middle of the next page, again, find the asterisk, page 6. We're going to continue now in the back of the Sidurim on page 44 with a selection from the Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs. There is a practice of chanting all of the Song of Songs on Friday night. We're not going to chant the whole book, of the Tanakh, but this small selection reminds us to appreciate those who love us and those whom we love. Dodi Lee on page 44. We'll continue now on page 10, Lecha Dodi. For those who are less familiar with our service, we'll be singing the verses that are again marked with an asterisk. And when we reach the final verse, Bo'i v'shalom, it's our practice to rise as we are able, face the door, and bow as we symbolically welcome Shabbat as a bride and a queen.
Yananai lecha dodi, Yananai likrat kala, Yananai b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat v'kavela, Shamor v'sator, v'yivorecha. El Hamyukar, Adonai Echad.
On the top of page 13, it's customary that during the week of Shiva, we extend our blessings for strength and comfort to those who are mourning. I'll ask you to please join me on the top of page 13 as we invite Renee and Norm Carson to join us here in the sanctuary. Renee lost her 98-and-a-half-year-old amazing mom, Frida, this past week. So we ask that Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avele Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May the Holy One comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. And we will remain standing for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 15.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'almad yivrach gerutei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayekon u'vyomekon uv'chayedekol beit Yisrael b'hagala uvizman kariv v'immeru amen. Yehishmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam elolmei almaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach, yitbar v'yitromam v'yinaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei dekudeshah. Le'elam min kol v'chata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, dam yehiram be'alma, v'meru, amen. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da da da
Please have a seat. We'll continue on page 18.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וכשרתם להוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Turning now to page 21, we are privileged to hear Mi Chamocha and Hashkivenu with melodies composed by our very own Alan Naplin.
Me Avideinu shomreinu lechayim, lechayim, lechayim,
On page 23, we'll rise for the Vishamru prayer and then remain standing for a few moments of silent prayer in the Amidah. Turning now to page 34, we pray for peace, Shalom Rav, on so many levels. We pray for it for ourselves. We pray for Shalom Rav for our community, for our world, and turning our hearts to those who could use a special blessing for healing on this Shabbat. May they experience Shalom Rav, great peace, and the blessing of relief from pain. Whatever the ailment may be, physical, emotional, or spiritual, we just pray for a sense of peace for those who are hurting. And if you have particular individuals for whom you are praying, we invite you to share their names at this time. If you are joining us on the live stream, please feel free to share those names in the chat. We can lift up all of our prayers together.
Abraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Sheberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah,
Good evening, good Shabbos once again. I wanted to share a few thoughts about this week's Torah portion, the Parsha of Emor. The word Emor literally translates as speak. In the Torah, God gives instructions to Moses to pass along to the priests. In other words, speak to the priests. I'm translating Emor as speak up. The Department of Homeland Security tells us if you see something, say something. And they are not wrong. We do need to speak up when we see something that doesn't feel quite right. Last week's Parsha included the mitzvah of not standing idly by in the face of wrongdoing. So it is with some trepidation that I want to speak up about something that I find troubling, something that I find actually just plain wrong in Parshat Emor. I'm troubled in this Torah portion by the emphasis on perfection as the highest standard and the only criterion of acceptability. It makes me uncomfortable that good enough was not good enough in the ancient paradigm, that people and even animals that were less than perfect were rejected. As a person who struggles with the need for perfection, perhaps I'm hypersensitive to the issue, but let's examine the evidence. The Parsha begins with the requirements for a priest, who they marry, who they mourn, and how. Lots of limitations are imposed on this individual who is supposed to live by some standard of perfection and who is not allowed the basic humanity of grieving when they lose someone they love and marrying the person their heart calls them to. If the priest himself is less than physically perfect in any way, they are barred from public service. The Torah has a whole list of disqualifiers, most of them too embarrassing to read out loud. There are constraints on who is allowed to eat the sacrificial offerings, and of course the animal that is offered has to be without defect. If it has any blemishes, then it's not good enough. I like to think that we as a society have moved beyond this heavy sense of judgment regarding perfection and to a greater sense of acceptance of the blessed diversity of our world. The perfect, it has been said, is the enemy of the good. If we judge ourselves and others by the standard of perfection, we will be depressed and lonely. Our fear of failure can prevent us from even trying. It can cause us to downplay our accomplishments and focus only on our mistakes. It feeds our sense of worry and destroys our peace of mind. The reality is that perfection is an impossible goal. When we try to perfect too many things, we lose the ability to go all out on the things that are really important to us. These are the words of Becky Beaupre Gillespie, the co-author of the book, Good Enough is the New Perfect, Finding Happiness and Success in Modern Motherhood. Often people lose sight of their passions, she says, and of their deepest desires when they try to be the best at everything. In her research, she actually discovered that good enoughs were a lot happier than the never enoughs. The never enoughs were consumed by worry that depleted their everyday joy. Is there a way that we can let go of comparing ourselves to others and take pride in doing our best? Can we let go of our constant worry in order to enjoy the present moment? None of which is to say that we can't learn, that we shouldn't try to grow, that we can learn from our mistakes and do better. It just means that we should forgive ourselves and others when we are less than perfect. One of my favorite blessings is the blessing we say when we see someone who appears different. We offer thanks to God who is Mishaneh Habriot, that is, who fills our world with variety. None of us is perfect. I wish that the Torah had allowed space for humans and animals who don't meet some arbitrary standard of perfection, that it had made the case that we include everyone in the priesthood, maybe even women too, regardless of their physical appearance, and emphasizing that we are all crafted b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. When we read these words in this week's Parsha, we understand that the Torah was a product of its time, and we can be grateful that Jewish tradition has evolved to an acceptance and value of all people and all creatures. The Parsha is Emor, speak. We need to give ourselves permission to speak, not only about what we love about our tradition, but also about ways in which our tradition can and should continue to evolve. I'll conclude with these words of Vladimir Horowitz. He said, "Perfection itself is imperfection." Or as our own Hilary Barnes quoted, "We are all perfectly imperfect." With that, we are going to turn for the service for counting the Omer. You can find it on page 37 in your Siddur. As our time of counting the Omer continues, we are concluding the week of Netzach, the week of victory according to the Kabbalistic counting. And on this Shabbat, we focus on Malchut she B'Netzach. The word Malchut translated as kingship or sovereignty or nobility, refers to the sphera that is closest and most accessible to us. As such, I like to think of it more as tachlis. What's the foundation of victory? What is its fundamental nature? Once upon a time in the realm of warfare, there was such a thing as victory. Combatants put on uniforms, took to the battlefield, and fought one another until one side surrendered and the other achieved netzach. The other side was victorious. The contemporary strategic environment is nowhere near as simple. The very notion of victory seems naive and elusive. So I think that we need to redefine this illusion that we can achieve victory and then move on. Victory, I think, is much more about being in the struggle, being on the journey, than it is about winning and losing. As we enter this 28th day of the Omer, we might ask ourselves, what are the qualities I am moving towards and would like to enhance in my life? What fundamentally do I need to focus on in order to move forward towards victory in these areas of my being? Hayom Shmona ve'esrim yom, shehem arba'a shavuot la'omer. It's the 28th day, that is 4 weeks of the Omer. We'll rise now for Aleinu on page 38.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateku la'liotzev reshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol ha'amonam, v'anachnu koreim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malkei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Adonai yimloch leolam valed, v'nemar, v'chaya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo
Please be seated. It's my pleasure to call on Lori Brueggemann, who is here this evening representing our Temple Chai Board of Directors, and she's going to offer greetings on behalf of the board.
Shabbat Shalom and welcome. We want to extend a special welcome to those who are new to Temple Chai. If you are here for the first or second time, we invite you to stand, and if you like, share with us why we have the honor of your presence tonight. What brings you to this community this evening? This week we are celebrating.
Well, you had a couple of volunteers here.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. Sorry. This week we celebrate Lag BaOmer, a joyous day that comes in the midst of this time of counting the Omer. Join us Wednesday for lots of family fun and pizza and s'mores at 5 p.m. And then next Friday, we'll feature a prayer lab on the theme of L'chaim to life. A big thank you to Alan Naplin for lending his beautiful voice to our service, and always to Ron Kushner for the great drumming. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or any other board member following the services. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Lori. We'll turn now on page 40 to the Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. And we invite the families of these individuals to please rise when we mention their name. Barbara Barnes, Frida Mann, Sarah Betty Glick, Thomas Joseph Tremblay, and Herbert Herb Zaitchik, Zichronam Livracha. May their memory be for blessing. If you are saying Kaddish for a loved one this evening, we invite you to stand, and if you would like to share the name of the person you are remembering, and again, if you're joining us remotely, please feel free to share that name in the chat. On page 40, we rise and join together as the mourners lead us in the Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma devra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kori v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'la'omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yitshtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shloma rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Turning now to page 41, I'll ask Justin and Abby to please come on up again and lead us in the Kiddush. So there's a microphone. Yeah, I'm going to help you in a second, Abby. Just hold the glass.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinhilanu Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikra'ei kodesh zeher litziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'harta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim V'shabbat kodshah ve'ahava u'ratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
L'chaim. Abby and Justin would love if you would come join them for their B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow morning at 10:30. And with that, if we have any young people here, I see a few who are pre-bar bat mitzvah, including the two of you. This is your last chance. Put your kiddush cups down. Come on up. Pre-bar and bat mitzvah, come on up. Helena Ruth, if you can hear me, come on up. Ethan, where are you? Here, let's go on the upper bima. There's so many of us. Isn't that great? Shabbat Shalom. Yashikoah.